Welcome to the 49 Yard Dash Podcast, a podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, joined now and weekly by my good friend Josh. And we got our visitor again who goes by his own self-proclaimed nickname, no one else, Big Daddy, also known as Luke by most people.
False. That's erroneous on all accounts.
Fantastic. Well, we got a lot to cover. We got our guest back. Unfortunately, this is not a victory week for the 49ers. They dropped one to the Green Bay Packers, and Luke is depressed. Josh is angry, and I'm all around pretty fired up about it. So we got a lot to cover. You guys want to dive right in?
Yeah, I would just like to start out by saying this is my interpretation of the prevent zone defense that we played. Oh, there goes Devontae Adams. I should probably get him. Not my problem.
Not my problem.
Yeah, you know what, Luke, to be honest with you, I thought the worst thing I had going on this week was the fact that JG Wentworth didn't have my money when I asked for it now. And now I'm in a high octane war with my dead sugar mama's family because that Roth IRA I thought I was getting, turns out it wasn't mine. I wasn't written into the will. So I thought that was the bad news. Turns out what I've got going on, even worse than that, is the fact Jimmy Garoppolo still sucks, and the defense is letting Aaron Rodgers dink and dunk them all the way to a win in Levi Stadium. So I'm ready to get into it, Steve.
Well, first of all, I have to apologize, Josh. This is the first episode that I did not begin it by asking how you were doing.
No.
But you let the fans know I'm sorry. I'm a
No,
little
it's okay. It's
frazzled, as they say.
Yeah, it's been a week comparable to purgatory for myself. We've talked about it several weeks ago. That high octane war I was engaged in with those dwarf Scandinavians is still ongoing. It feels like the battle of the bulge. I'm surrounded on all fronts. Now I've got JG Wentworth I'm fighting against, this sugar mama's family. I'm not going to even go into detail about that, but that Roth IRA is mine. And then just on top of that, Sam Darnold's mono, all these other things. It's been a horrible week. So, man, I don't even care if you ask me how I'm doing.
Yeah, you got a lot going on, man. I feel bad, but
Yeah.
Hey, the best thing you can do is talk about what made you depressed.
Yeah.
So let's start it out. I got game notes that break down the entire game, honestly. So I'm ready. To be honest, I could go 30 minutes by myself, but to be nice, I'll include you guys.
Thank you.
All right. So in that first quarter, they opened up. Green Bay got the ball first. They went right down the field. I'm pretty sure the 49ers, it might have even been Lenore. No, it was K1 who got hurt on the play. K1 got beat on a deep pass, which set Green Bay up with a real short field in the red zone like that to start the game. And then the 49ers stepped up big. Specifically, Nick Bosa was a freak of nature, and 3 plays in a row was all, the backfield immediately. They held them to a field goal. That was a great start. What did you guys think of the opening defense?
Luke, give it a shot.
It's tough, man. I still don't know what our identity is, man, on offense or defense. A few years ago, I feel like we were so stacked on defense. And then last year, you had all the injuries. But I don't know, man. I don't feel like we can stop a whole lot right now.
Well,
yeah,
Josh, I don't know what you were thinking. But...
Yeah, no, it's the same thing as Luke. Really, what the Packers did is exploit every weakness of what the 49ers gave them. I think I've got the stat written down here somewhere. They went empty set. I believe it was like 13 plays during the game. They actually went empty set. No, so it was 13 plays during the course of the game. They went an empty set. So 5 wide receivers, either 4 wide receivers, tight end, 2 tight ends, or whatever. They were all flexed out. Why do they do that? Well, you're putting the defensive backfield in conflict. The only guys you got who can cover really at this point, after K1 goes out of the game, is Lenore and Jimmy Ward. Tart's not a great coverage guy. Josh Norman's hacking up blood on the sideline. You got a lot of other issues. So the depth wasn't there. And Aaron Rodgers knew it. Matt LaFleur knew it. That's why they dinked and dunked their way all over us. I think there was also another stat. I can't seem to find it here in my notes, but the majority, I believe it was 85% of Aaron Rodgers' passes were within 5 yards. So what does that tell you? Well, he's running a Jimmy Garoppolo offense, taking everything in front of him. And that's what the 49ers were giving him. He wasn't really taking a ton of deep shots until it got to the end of the game or until the play necessitated it. The offensive plan was to exploit the 49ers' weakness. They got the ball out quick. Nick Bosa was getting chipped on just about every play, aside from the first drive you mentioned, Steve. They really exploited our weaknesses, and we didn't really do a heck of a lot to adjust it. And you really couldn't because of the issues we've got depth-wise and scheme-wise at the moment. But they took full advantage of every weakness we had.
Yeah, the reality is when your top guy, Jason Verrett, who, looking at the defensive side of the ball going into the year, you would look at three guys and say there are three guys you don't want to lose. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Jason Verrett. You lost Jason Verrett. That's one of the guys that you definitely didn't want to lose. Mosley's been battling little injuries throughout the year, even though I thought he played pretty good. It's Davante Adams. He's going to get beat. But I thought he held his own. He did all right regarding Davante Adams. And then, of course, K1. He's a slot guy. He's not supposed to be covering deep routes, but he got stuck on one and he got hurt. So that stinks.
Yeah.
So they are really thin at corner, and Green Bay exposed that about them.
Well, and if you just think about it too, not to cut you off, Steve, but you would think that like if you think like even college football, kind of related towards that, that's kind of the offense that Green Bay ran on Sunday night. Think about these Ryan Day offenses at Ohio State, what Alabama's run under Steve Sarkisian, Clemson, with guys from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence and everything in between. It's that kind of get the ball out quick within 3 seconds, keep everything within 5 yards, and let your playmaker make something after the catch. And if you don't, you just got halfway to a first down the first play. And the nice thing about it for them, not for 49ers, is that you're basically limiting the pass rush when you're getting the ball out within 3 seconds. There's no way, doesn't matter who you are, even if you're Aaron Donald, there's no way you're getting home that quick.
Yeah.
So if you've got a mismatch, which they did the whole game on the 49ers defensive backs, like you said, Verrett, Mosley, Norman get hurt as well. Lenore having to step in for K1, it was a mismatch, and getting the ball out that quick. There was at that point nothing you can do. You're either going to wait too long, let Aaron Rodgers create something even further downfield, or you're just going to kind of have to give them that 3, 4, 5 yards on all that underneath stuff, which is what their whole game plan was the entire night.
Yeah. To sum up the first quarter for me, like I said, Green Bay got to the red zone. 49ers defense stopped them. That was nice. And then the 49ers in their first drive didn't really do anything with it. Stagnant offense. Following drive, Green Bay scores a touchdown. It was that Davante Adams fake motion to the right, come back to the left. Lenore was supposed to be on him, and he got mixed up. He's a rookie. That's expected. Davante Adams got Jalen Ramsey on that route before. What kind of ticked me off is at that point it was 10-0, and in the second quarter, Armstead gets a big sack on Aaron Rodgers on third down. So it seems like here's their chance. Let's get some momentum. Then they take a shot. The 49ers do. That's what we've been wanting. That's what we've been saying, that they need to take shots and throw the ball downfield. They do it. Kittle, it was picked off. So that was irritating. Thoughts on the Jimmy Garoppolo interception, because I'm very curious. Luke, what did you think? You remember the interception? I'm sure he's throwing Kittle.
Man, I don't know. I struggle so much because I want to get behind Jimmy G and really support him, man. It just doesn't give me anything on Sunday to get behind, though. Dang, I just don't see it, man. It's driving me crazy. Every week I'm thinking, all right, Jimmy's going to pull it together, man. I mean, he's a beautiful man to look at. That's what I want from home.
That's true.
To be,
Yeah, I do. I am a big fan of a handsome quarterback, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just makes you excited, man. I'll say this much. Talking about that interception first, Steve.
Yeah.
It's the exact same play 49ers ran against the Packers in the NFC Championship a couple years ago. And it's almost like Jimmy was just thinking, okay, well, Kyle drew up this play. We already did it once before. I'm going to do it again. Well, what he didn't account for was Jair Alexander's a heck of a lot better player than he was back then, and that the play was better defended. And that's the issue. That's the one shot you had that Jimmy took. And it seems like, and I hate to take away from even just the first quarter, I know you're trying to kind of go through it, but at this point, what we had before with Jimmy a couple years ago was the bad plays were occurring less often than the good plays. Well, now it's to the point where that's no longer the case. The good plays are the rarity, not the bad plays. You've got guys wide open on third down. You've got the Kittle play. The way Green Bay played that defense, they were begging Jimmy to take a shot down the field. They weren't giving him what he wanted. Of course, we talked about it with Aaron Rodgers. That was the Green Bay offense, was a Garoppolo-style offense, everything underneath. What the Packers wanted Jimmy to do was kind of go reverse Aaron Rodgers, what Aaron typically does, stretch the ball down the field. It was there all night, and Jimmy never took it. Didn't force that ball into tight windows and didn't stretch the field. And ultimately, the one play you got to Kittle is the play that he was probably the only deep shot he's comfortable with, and he couldn't deliver it.
I have very mixed feelings about that specific play. Because on one hand, thinking of, I guess from a positive perspective, he's looking at Kittle. Kittle breaks his route back inside, and Kittle has his man beat, and Garoppolo throws, what was it? Probably 8 inches too far out. It's not a bad play. But then I also think, I feel like Aaron Rodgers would be able to, he would notice that Jair Alexander broke out from his zone and came over to help. Garoppolo had his eyes set on Kittle, kind of one read. Kittle beat his man. All right, I'm good. Kyle said that if Kittle's open here, then throw it. So I got to throw it, right? But I feel like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes would have noticed that. It's just, I do think he's more of a one-read guy. I don't fault him for throwing that ball. It wasn't a badly thrown ball. It was barely outside of the outstretched hands of George Kittle. But I just think there's a dimension there that the guys like Rodgers, Wilson, the good deep throwers, guys who stretch the field, just in general, he seems like a one-read guy that he knows the playbook well. He knows how to follow that play, but does he know how to improvise at all? It really doesn't seem like it.
Well, and you can know the playbook as much as you want, but it's like driving a Lamborghini at the speed limit. You're not going to drive it at 70 miles an hour. You don't know what that baby can run. Garoppolo might know Shanahan's playbook in and out like the back of his hand, but if he's not taking advantage of what Kyle gives him, what's the point in knowing it? Yeah. That ball to Kittle, like we said, it was the same play they ran against the Packers a few years ago. One of Jimmy's few passes. It was a great play back then. Had Garoppolo even had more velocity on the ball, maybe it gets there. Maybe it's even not an interception. Maybe it's just an incompletion. But the lack of velocity on the ball, being off target, like you said, even the fact that he didn't make the right read on it, Kittle looked open. But it's like when you're playing Madden or NCAA football on the PlayStation, it's like, okay, well, that guy looks open. Oh, crap, they're not playing man. They're zone. Here he comes. Flips the route, and there it is. A smart quarterback, anybody smarter than us, would have seen that and been like, well, I can't go there. Because the reason it looks open is because he's letting me think it's open.
I don't think that was Jair Alexander's zone to be there. I think he is a great player making a great play, seeing that that's where the ball is going, and he ran out of his zone to go there. That was a great play by him. But my point being, and maybe I just didn't get it across, I don't know. I just think that maybe beforehand, before the play even happened, when Kyle Shanahan is going over this play with Jimmy Garoppolo, or maybe when they're doing it in practice, he says, when they're lined up in this defense, whatever it was, a cover 2 or whatever, if Kittle beats his man here, he should be open. So
Mhm.
Jimmy Garoppolo has in his mind, okay, Kittle beat his man. He should be open. Throws it, doesn't look. I just think
No
he's
process.
yeah, I think he follows exactly what Shanahan says, assuming it's always going to play out perfectly, but it doesn't. I think that's why he throws these random, what are you doing interceptions, you know? It's,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
yeah, it just, no, it was, yeah. I thought they could really take control of the game after that sack on third down, but then
Yep.
give it right back. But right after that, the defense steps up again because the Packers take the ball inside the red zone again, and they have a 4th and 1. They go for it. Nick Bosa again blows up the play, and they don't convert. So they have another chance. 4th and 1, they got it. They get the ball back. And I think here is when, let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, here is when they had 4th and 1 at the 50-yard line, and they punted it. Everybody
Yeah.
was mad that they didn't go for it. What do you guys think about that?
I'll let Luke go. I'll shut up.
If you got 4th and 1 on the 50, what should you do there?
Trying to think of what the score was at that point.
It was
Written down.
10-0.
But I mean, 4th and 1 at the 50. Yeah, it's obviously easy to say after the fact.
Yes.
You went for it, right?
It's always easy in hindsight.
Yeah, it's like I still would have liked to have gone for it. Just the fact to instill some confidence in the offense to say I
Mhm.
trust in you guys enough to get this one stinking yard. You know, I feel
Yeah.
like what does that say to Jimmy G and the other guys, man? It's like 4th and 1 on that. Nah, let's just give it back to him. I don't know. That's my thought, man. It could have done something for their confidence.
Yeah, and well, something interesting Kyle said after the game, some reporter asked him about it. He said it looked like Sermon was short 3 yards instead of 1 on that play because where Kyle stands, interestingly enough, is behind the defense. So he can get a better view on what the opposing defense is doing when he's calling the plays. So he's not necessarily like every other coach looking right down the line of scrimmage, looking at it. So it'd be like if we were sitting in the cheap seats, the angle's off
Yeah.
on. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a game, and it's like, oh man, he got that first down by a yard, or oh, he was short, and it's like your perception's off. So interestingly enough, Kyle thought it was 4th and 3. Well, there's still the issue, at least for me. I prefer an aggressive coach. If you're down 10-0 at home, you've got use check. Either hand it off to him or let Garoppolo sneak it and just push the pile forward. You can fall forward 9 feet. I don't even care if it's especially 3 feet on a yard. So that was kind of more concerning to me was even that with it being potentially 4th and 3, that the thought never came into his head for, well, we've got to go for it. And then if they had gone for it when he thought it was 4th and 3, well, heck, it was 4th and 1. Jamie just has to fall forward. Use check gives him a push in the back, first down. That was definitely one you've got to have back. You know, whether Kyle thought it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 3, I don't give a crap. That's something you've got to go for. You cannot punt the ball to Aaron Rodgers when he's up 10-0 on you. Going to make it a 3-score game. You can't do that.
And that's my thing too, on why, because I thought about it a lot and wasn't really sure, but the more I thought about it, it's 4th and 1 at the 50. You think, well, man, I don't want to give Rodgers half of a field to work with, right? He's for
Nope.
sure going to score, right? So I understand that line of thinking, but there were 5 minutes left at that point, 5 minutes and 5 seconds left at that point in the game. They punted it. What happened? You don't think 5 minutes is enough for Aaron Rodgers to? He scored anyways.
Well, think about the
So-
punt, Steve. Think about the punt. It went in the end zone. It was a touchback. It wasn't even down inside the 5 or the 10, which is why you punt it from the 50. It was a freaking touchback. So you gave Aaron Rodgers the ball at the 20. What in the heck is the difference between giving him the ball at the 20, giving him the ball at the 50?
When Aaron Rodgers has 5 minutes, he can go 90. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
That is the main reason I came up with, I think they should have went for it on 4th down. And they fell 17-0. Big hole early. All that negativity, but there was some excitement before the half. Because after that, 17-0, the 49ers got the ball back. They took it down. They took it down on the field. And let's see. They get to the 1. First down from the 1-yard line. There's a Debo drop, but offsetting penalties. They just said, whatever, 2nd down. It's incomplete to Brandon Ayuk. Incomplete. 4th and 1. Who would like to remind me of what happened there and how awesome it was? Okay, fine, I'll say it. Trey Lance, quarterback draw, snaps it, runs to the left side of the end zone for a touchdown. It was awesome. And that was gutsy because it was 17-0, and you could very well reason, let's make it 17-3. It's still a 2-possession game. Safe. Let's take the 3 points, be safe. And, 2 touchdowns, we'll see. But Shanahan decided to say, hey, let's try to get 7. It might be a 3-possession game if we don't get it, but let's try it. Heck. And it worked out. That was pretty awesome.
So if that play was in the arsenal on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 at the end of the half, whatever it was, where was that on the 4th and 1 call from the 50 is my
Right.
question.
Very true.
Very
Very good
if
point.
you've got enough cojones to make that call, why didn't you have enough to make it from the 50? Because arguably that was a more crucial point than even going into the half. At the half, you needed the momentum at that point. It is what it is. But you're only down 2 scores there at the 50. So anyway, I digress. But definitely something. If that play was clearly in the playbook, it wasn't just, hey, if we get down to the goal line on a 1-yard play, we're going to put Trey in. That situation's hardly ever going to happen. That scenario was put in for if we've got a short yardage play.
Yeah.
No matter where it's at, Trey's in. So arguably that play should have been utilized more throughout the game.
So if you utilize that play at the 50-yard line, and let's just say they convert it and shoot, let's say they end up scoring on that drive, it's 10-7 instead of 17-7.
Yeah, it is. Changes the whole thing.
I know it's always easy to say in hindsight, but that 4th and 1, I do think you should have went for it.
So let me ask you guys this.
Yeah.
God, that was a smooth segue. How do you feel about the offensive line, Luke? Kind of throughout the game. Personally, I felt like they got worked, but I don't know what you thought as far as throughout the game.
I didn't think it was great. I didn't think Jimmy G just had tons of time. And, I felt like some receivers just kind of dropped the ball too.
Yeah.
A couple times he actually got the ball to him and then they drop it, man. It's just a complete mess on offense right now. Really.
Fun fact for you guys. Alex Mack was single-handedly responsible for 6 pressures.
Wow. He was
I was
horrible.
high. I was high on him, man. I thought he had one more run left in the tank. But man, he's like Pau Gasol Marc Gasol rather on the Lakers last year. It's like there's nothing left, man. You thought there was something. There's nothing. You're just a good-looking face with a nice career attached to you, and that's about it. But
Yeah.
6 pressures. And that wasn't even the strength of the Green Bay defense, was their interior defensive line. He gave up 6 pressures for Jimmy G. That's tough, man.
Yeah, he was horrible this past week. Hopefully play a little better than that at least, but good Lord. Whew. All right. Opening up the second half. 49ers got the ball first, and they actually opened it up with a long touchdown drive. Jimmy Garoppolo, and this was nice to see, touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, who apparently was in the doghouse, but not in the doghouse, but splitting reps with Trent Sherfield. Now Trent Sherfield's not playing, apparently. I don't know what's going on with the receiver group, but it was nice to see Brandon Ayuk catch a touchdown pass, don't you think?
Yeah, I think Sherfield got like a total of 2 snaps that game, and I believe they were both on special teams. You know what that is to me, and I see your face, Steve. I know that face, but it was clearly a message the first couple weeks. We'll find out next offseason. It'll be something of like, oh, Ayuk didn't come in conditioned well enough. He had some personal baggage. He was tardy for meetings. He was more Ayuk than Ayuk. But obviously, dude, he's Shanahan's guy. Shanahan said when they drafted him that Ayuk was his number 1 receiver on the board.
Yep.
That's why they picked him. So
He liked him over Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. Ayuk's up there with him. If he was in a more pass-heavy offense, people would be drafting him left and right in fantasy football. But yeah, it's nice to see him back, especially after you mentioned earlier on that, not to take it back, but that drive before Trey Lance came in the game on the goal line, it was incomplete for Ayuk. Well, he dropped it. He could have had that touchdown.
Yep.
That was an Ayuk drop. So it's nice to see him kind of redeem himself too, especially as like the coaching staff is trusting him. Hey, you're out of the doghouse this week. Well, the first opportunity you have to score, you screw the pooch. at least he was able to redeem himself in that regard.
What was frustrating is right after that touchdown drive, so they scored to close the half, they scored to open the second half, then the defense forces a 3 and out. So I'm like, man, this is their chance. They have all the momentum. They just scored 2 times in a row. And I know you can't score on every drive, but to go 3 and out after that was just irritating. And that's the thing with this offense, man. The highs and lows are something else. Ugh. I just wish it was a little more consistent. I mean, I guess if it sucked all the time, that would be worse. But I wish they were consistently better. Said too much to ask.
No.
You know, and honestly, I think it might have been at that point. No, it wasn't. I'm going to save that point for until about 5 minutes. All right. Green Bay gets the ball back. Green Bay touchdown drive. It goes from a portion of the third into the fourth quarter. So now it's 24-14. They get the ball back. 49ers score. It's 24-21. The 49ers force another 3 and out. Again, here's their chance. They're only down 3. They just force the 3 and out. What do? The Max special. Yeah, Luke. Eat it. What'd you think of the Max special, Luke?
It was frustrating, man. I don't know. I don't know if the ball got tipped. You know, he was coming down with it. It just slipped
It
out.
didn't get tipped.
Man,
Dude, stuff didn't happen. He threw it behind him. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I almost wonder if he doesn't feel like he's even got enough time for different reads, man. But he is definitely right now one read dude. I mean, and I don't know why that is, but anyways, I know he's kind of getting chased on that. Ball came out. Yeah.
Funky play.
That sucks.
Josh.
Well, like me and Steve talked about it the other day. We were talking about as far as for preparing on the for the podcast. It's like Jimmy kept saying, "I threw it." You idiot! You threw it behind you. It didn't matter if you threw it. It doesn't matter if the ball came out or the guy hit it. You threw it behind you. You were facing your end zone. So it doesn't matter if you threw it or not. Why are you screaming at the ref? I threw it. I threw it. It didn't matter. You should take the fact that you are graced with such a God-given talent that it slipped out of your hand instead of you having such a Alzheimer's mental lapse that you turned around and threw it into the dirt behind you. You should be grateful that they called it a fumble, because otherwise that would be the SportsCenter not top 10 play for the rest of the season. If he had literally turned around and pulled a 2 all beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, wrapped all in a sesame seed bun Big Mac throw behind him like we just saw a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, it just blew my mind that he thought he could plead his case to the referee.
You know what I noticed? And it just cracked me up because I think I mentioned to you after the game. What he said, it was an unfortunate call by the referees. That was pretty funny. I'm like, it wasn't really an unfortunate call. It's just they called it, that you threw it backwards. But what I noticed is when I watched the replay, and I haven't seen really anybody talk about this, after it happened, when you watch the replay, Jimmy Garoppolo points and yells. He knew it was a fumble. But once it was recovered by Green Bay, he's like, oh, no, it was a pass, man. And I'm not trying to just kill the guy, even though Josh definitely
Yes, you are.
is.
Yes, you are. And I am too.
But it just, he did straight face lie. And I know all athletes do it. I mean, corners pass interference, and then they say, what? No way. You know, they do it all the time. But that one just did crack me up because the replay showed Jimmy Garoppolo pointing and yelling to jump on the ball. And he's, oh, no, I didn't fumble it.
You know, Steve, it reminds me of 2 different scenarios. One of a pro athlete line. I think back to that interview of Jameis Winston with Jim Harbaugh when Jameis was lying about his actions. We won't get into that, but we all know the video I'm talking about when Jim Harbaugh made some accusations about Jameis's behavior. But it kind of reminds me of playing basketball, right? and a good friend of ours, Tony, he once told me that whenever you airball a 3-pointer or any kind of jump shot, immediately look at your hand with utter disbelief and wipe it on your shorts. So people assume that your hands were sweaty, and then you go, my bad. Don't let anybody for any reason think that you suck that bad. And that's what Jimmy did. He
Yeah.
knew what he did, but it was that
Yeah.
instinctual, and there was that instinct of like, hey, that wasn't a horrible mental error on me. When I shoot an air ball, I don't yell, I suck. I immediately look at my hand in disbelief, wipe on my shorts, and say, my bad, guys, I got next. And that's what Jimmy was doing on that. He yelled at the guys to pick up the ball, and then in the interview, he thought, well, I got to make myself look better because I've got a guy gunning for my job. So let me try to, deter this as much as possible.
Speaking of a guy gunning for his job, right after that happened, the camera went to Kyle Shanahan's face, zoomed in real close like they do,
Yeah.
and he looked borderline teary-eyed. Like he just looked sad. And
I
at
saw rage
that
in his eyes, man.
moment, maybe it was tears of anger, but at that moment, I'm a huge Trey Lance fan, and you guys know that I wanted him from the moment they traded to number 3. That's the guy that I liked. But I have not been I haven't been screaming to get Trey Lance in anytime Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't look great. I haven't been one of those people. But at that moment when Kyle Shanahan looked like he had tears of rage or tears of sadness, I don't know, I thought it might be time for Trey Lance for real. That's the moment for me. But what's crazy is, and this is just a perfect summary of following a team that's led by Jimmy Garoppolo. Right after that, Green Bay has a short field, but Mosley had that great defense on Devontae Adams in the end zone. You know what I'm talking about? He played it perfect. They held him to a field goal. And then Jimmy Garoppolo leads a touchdown drive. What's wrong with this guy? It's just the highs and lows. He's like the J.R. Smith of the NFL. He's either scoring 40 or going 0 for 10
That's
from
generous.
3. No, for real, it's an
No, JR
emotional
don't
roller
miss.
coaster. I'm a glass case of emotion.
Well, J.R. Smith is a lofty comparison because JR don't miss. And Jimmy just blamed a fumble on the referee. No, but it's funny, man. You can kind of look at it like they call it the Rorschach test, where they put the image in front of you and it's the black dots on the white sheet, and you're supposed to see different images, kind of tell you where your mental makeup is.
Yeah.
It's kind of Jimmy's kind of that Rorschach test, because you can look at him with the glass half full of you and say what you just said. Jimmy led him on a drive to take the lead, or tie the game rather. You can look at it like that Jimmy is back to
He did
himself.
take the lead by 1 point.
Yeah,
but
sorry.
go ahead.
Yep, you're right. So Jimmy put him on a potential game-winning drive. That's how you can look at it. Or you can look at it from, they were fortunate to be in that position despite Jimmy's struggles. He took what the defense gave him. Juszczyk saved him. Kittle saved him. Several other guys saved him on that drive. The pass blocking stepped up, and he did just enough to get him in the end zone. It depends on how you look at it. You can nitpick it either way. If you're looking to praise Jimmy, you've got it. If you're looking to tear him down, which is clearly what I'm trying to do, you've got more than enough evidence to do that. It's just however you're wanting to look at it.
The reality is somewhere in the middle of that. But
Yep.
Luke, what did you think about that final drive, man? Because even that drive alone was up and down. He had to convert 2 3rd and 10s.
Right? Yeah, I know, man. I'm kind of with Josh. It just depends how you want to look at it. Man, I was surprised and I was really happy. So the thought did occur to me when Juszczyk caught it to just drop down at the 1, man.
Yeah.
Did the thought cross you guys' mind to just take a knee at the 1 and punch it in? Like, I know you can't do that, but man, you can't get
It
very
crossed my
much
mind,
anything. Right? Yeah. Okay. I just wonder if it crossed your mind.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, definitely so. Do you know what the actual problem was? And this is another thing I haven't heard anybody talk about. I think, actually, as much as I love him, I think Kyle Shanahan is the one to blame for this loss for 2 reasons. 1, that pass. It was great. Scored, 37 seconds is a lot. And you think, what about going down at the 1? But the real problem was they snapped the ball with 12 seconds on the play clock. Why did they not drain 10 more seconds? They snapped the ball with 12 seconds on the play clock, and they had 37 seconds to go. You didn't have to rush. You were on the 5-yard line or whatever.
It's probably because they didn't think they were getting that ball in the end zone, if I had to bet. They're probably thinking that play takes up about 10 seconds. You're down to 25, 26. You got time to run
3 timeouts.
Couple plays. That's true, but you've still got enough time with 25 seconds to run 5 seconds a pop. That leaves 10 seconds left if you potentially just get a first down. So I'm not as upset with that. It's more so, I mean, I hate to change your point, but it's one of those things. It's like, man, if you think about how much time you leave Aaron Rodgers with, is 25 seconds too much? Probably. Is 20 seconds too much? It's probably pretty close. You've almost got to give them just enough time for them to have one first down and then another play. If you give them any more than that, it's, any more than 20, it's probably too much.
Hear me out, though. You waste 10 more seconds. You snap the ball with 2 seconds. And there's 2 scenarios. One, you score like you did. And at that point, you have 27 seconds instead of 37. You don't score. You call a timeout. You probably still have 26 seconds instead of 27 seconds. Let's just say you end up punching in the next play, you have 25 seconds. So you either have 25 or 27, depending on whether or not you score. That could vary with they don't make it the first time. But and then 2, on the kickoff, after they scored, they kicked it in the end zone. Why don't you kick it short so the kick returner has to waste 3 to 5 more seconds? If Shanahan played the clock right, it would have been -10 on that first play, minus probably 5 on the kickoff. That's 15 seconds. And Aaron Rodgers got that. He spiked ball with 2 seconds left. And I'm saying, with 20, what would that would be 22 seconds. Aaron Rodgers can still make something happen. But 15 seconds was definitely vital on that last drive. And that's, to me, that's on Kyle.
Yeah. Go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
No, I'm with you, man. I don't think that play was designed to score. I think Juszczyk made a dang good move to even get in the end zone. And they would have had more options if they were down there closer because they had to get a touchdown. But it's a tough position, man. And I just still can't believe you don't double team Devontae Adams or anything. You just let him find the soft spot in the zone. Like that just drove me up a wall. Real, that drove me crazy.
Well, and you think about, I guess I'll make one last point as far as Steve goes. In theory, if you're playing Madden, sure, take it short, waste 5 seconds. That's what I always do. As much time as you get off the clock. But was it Valdez-Scantling back there? Fastest guy on the team, if I remember right. Do you really want to put the ball in his hands with the chance to return it? That's a tough one. Whether it's Kyle, I don't know, but at the end of the day, Jimmy's the one snapping the ball. And I hate to keep piling on Jimmy, but it's the same. It's the Rorschach. I'm butchering this. I've pronounced that 10 different ways. Whatever. I don't even know what you're trying to say anymore. It's the Rorschach test or whatever. It's however you want to look at it. At the end of the day, it's the same thing we talked about with Jimmy on that last drive. Same way you want to look at it continued. Do you want to look at it as, oh, well, Jimmy did his job. It's Kyle's fault for not, and not saying you're saying this, Steve, but it's Kyle's fault for not taking enough time off the clock. It's Kyle's fault for not managing enough, especially with 3 timeouts. Or more so, was it, we don't know, maybe Kyle told him, hey, get everybody lined up, be mindful of the play clock, wind it down. When he gets 5 seconds, snap it. And maybe he just didn't do that. Maybe he just was amped up, saw how they were lined up and said, I'm going to hit Juszczyk right now. We don't know. But, at the end of the day, 2 seconds is what cost them the game. Luke's prevent defense, just to transition it to that. If you think about, Luke and I talked about this during the game. Prevent defense is the worst play call in football, especially prevent zone. If you're going to play I believe it's in Madden called man up 3 zone. It's where you just go man to
Yeah.
man and drop 3 safeties deep. In my mind, that's the way to do it. But, you know, even if you are going to do it, you're giving them everything underneath. Of course, Devontae Adams, best receiver in football, got to the one spot, and Aaron Rodgers made the one throw, maybe 2 inches, 6 inches over Warner's outstretched hands,
Yeah.
right in between the safety. No other quarterback's making that throw, but it's just unfortunate that that's the way that game had to end, was that the best receiver in football and one of the best quarterbacks made a impossible play for just about anybody else in the league to take advantage of the one soft spot in the defense that would allow them to get to field goal range with that much time left.
It's true. Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers does. But I don't know. I'm still pretty triggered. I'm still blaming. I'll blame clock management. I won't necessarily, because I didn't really consider that technically it's possible. Shanahan did tell them drain the clock, and they didn't do it anyways. It's true.
Yeah.
But I just think, even if drain the 10 seconds, man. Like, why not do it? You have 3 timeouts. Just do it.
Part of me wonders if that play to Juszczyk wasn't even the go-to route. If Jimmy just saw that and thought, this is where I'm going with the ball. Because I can't think of how many times in the pass game, unless it's a bubble or a specific screen or anything delayed to Juszczyk, that he ran a legit route on that play.
Yeah.
I can't think of how many times in the past 3 years where he's had a legit route that he's run and the play was drawn up to go to him. Now he's versatile, no doubt, but I do wonder what that play was originally designed for. Maybe it was for that, maybe it was something else. But two, you got to wonder, even if it was drawn up for that, like you're saying, Steve, we saw how the running game was. We talked about how Alex Mack and the O-line wasn't getting any push outside of Trent Williams. If you get inside the 2 or the 3, do you really trust Trey Sermon to punch it in? Do you trust any of these other? I don't know, man. It's a tough situation.
He did it earlier, but with the way the run game was so inconsistent, you
Exactly.
don't know. But
you don't.
So, from the player perspective, Juszczyk and Garoppolo, if you have a touchdown, you're not going to pass up on a touchdown. From the player perspective, I totally get it. I just think the clock management could have been a lot better, which is something that Kyle Shanahan has struggled with in Atlanta all the way back to Cleveland. So I don't know.
Point.
It's easy for us to point out all the flaws in hindsight. If we were trying to do it, I'm sure it'd be a complete mess. But
well, like we said, it's just however you want to look at it. You can be critical. There was enough blame to go around as far as with the defensive play calling, with offensive play calling, with the time management, with the quarterback position, with the running position, with the offensive line, with the drops. You could nitpick any part of this team, special teams, punting into the end zone, not downing one inside the 10, just about all game. There's enough blame to go around. It's just however you want to assign it.
Definitely so. Absolutely. And now this week they got another opponent with a quarterback who he's clutch. He can throw the ball deep. Might have similar issues. And both teams now are in a really tough spot. The 49ers don't want to go 2-2 and have a gap between them, Arizona and Los Angeles. And the Seahawks definitely don't want to go 1-3. So both these teams, I won't call it a must win for the 40. It's a borderline must win for Seattle. Going 1-3 in this NFC West is going to be tough to overcome. So I won't call it a must win for the 49ers, but it's darn close. It's darn close. Because those Rams are looking good. And the Cardinals are looking good too.
They are, man. And, I've been a proponent of this. I think we talked about this in our season preview episode. I bank on it every year. It hasn't happened yet. Maybe this will finally be the year, but eventually the Seahawks are going to drop off. That defense has way too many questions. Russell Wilson doesn't have hardly any help. The offensive line is horrible. DK Metcalf doesn't look like the legit number 1 receiver we thought he was going to be coming in this year. You've got Lockett. You've got, a nice receiver in Metcalf. Outside of those two and Wilson, what do you got? Eventually, one of these
True.
years, it's going to catch up to him. And we
Yeah.
know this, Steve being a USC fan, Luke and I being college football fans, we know Pete Carroll's history. He's not a developer of talent. He's a culture guy. He's a locker room guy. He keeps egos in check, and he surrounds himself with a good staff. So
Yeah.
he's not one of those guys that when the chips get low, he's going to push him in the middle of the table and try to pull himself out of it. It's going to be one of those situations where eventually it'll catch up to him. So maybe that's this year, maybe it's not. But like what you said, this is the critical point for both of these team seasons, is whether the 49ers are legit or not, and whether the Seahawks are about to fall off a cliff.
Hey, there are two positives that we can look into this week. One, the Rams play the Cardinals, so one of them's going to lose. Unless they tie.
True. True.
And two, the Panthers are really good this year, and that's my second favorite team. So
Yeah, that's true, man.
you guys don't
What
care
do you
about
guys
that.
put,
I'm just kidding.
Luke? What do you put the over under at of how many Harbaugh-esque handshakes we saw last week? Shanny gave LaFrenchie a little baby Harbaugh handshake walking by.
He did.
Didn't even
He
stop.
wasn't even looking at him.
Didn't even stop.
No eye
Harbaugh's
contact.
got that famous one with Jim Schwartz where he pats him on the back, and in Detroit after they sneak out with the win and Jim Schwartz gets in his face, Chaney pulled the baby Harbaugh. But you think we see any of those this week? Maybe the 49ers and Shanny and Pete Carroll? You think we see any of that?
Man, I hope not, man. I hope Shanahan comes up with just a big smile on his face, ready to just shake the hand, man, after their W. So, yeah.
True
Gives him a
that.
little too firm of a handshake.
Hey, speaking of that, expectations. I know we didn't talk about this beforehand, but let's go score predictions for this week. I don't care who goes first, not me.
Luke, you're the guest.
Yeah,
Take the
49ers
pressure off.
Seahawks, right? That's what you're talking about.
yeah.
Whew, man, that's tough.
You can do Rams Cardinals too if you want. I don't care.
I don't know about the score prediction for that. I think the Rams will take it. I do think the 49ers are going to beat the Seahawks. I'm like Josh, man. I think the Seahawks are pretty much done. But yeah, it's kind of really a must win for both of them, because if you don't beat the Seahawks, man, how are you going to go in and beat the Cardinals and the Rams? I just feel like it's going to be a mess after that. But yeah, I think they'll grab. I think it'll be actually a comfortable win for the 49ers this week.
Yeah. I think I'm with Luke, actually, to be honest with you. I didn't think I'd say comfortable win going into it. I won't say, hey, win. I don't think I'll say like 3, 4, 5 scores, but I could see a scenario where, Seahawks have the ball with under 2 minutes trying to drive the tie, and they can't get it done, and 49ers wind out the clock. It's one of those issues we saw last week. One point I was going to touch on as far as this past week with Green Bay that I think we'll see this week. 49ers went very man-heavy on third down. They only got 1 sack. Packers did have one of the better offensive lines in football last year. I think we're going to see that stat change next week. You do expect Niners to still stay heavy man. They've been heavy man on third down since the Robert Saleh days. They are this year again too, but do think you'll see more pressure on Russell Wilson. I could see something like 28-21, 28-17 Niners. Maybe a late score seals it, but do think Niners win somewhat comfortably this week.
Luke, you didn't give me a score, man. You just said comfortable.
So I was thinking a touchdown actually in my head. So if you want a score, I will go 35.
Ooh.
20.
Whoa.
35
I like it.
what?
20.
35
No,
what?
yeah, you're right. 35-24. Yeah, there you go.
I like that, man. Give them a field goal.
I'm going to say 26-24. I think it'll be a
It's a
nail
horrible
biter.
prediction. It's a horrible prediction.
They're going to miss an extra point and make it really weird.
Who is? You didn't say who's going to win.
Oh, the 49ers, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, for our 2 fans out there, we'll have you know we never predict the 49ers to lose on our game review and game preview episodes. So
This game scares me actually more than it does you guys. So
I was more scared of Green Bay, to be honest with you. Of course, I've been proclaiming the end of Seattle from the rooftops for quite some time. So
They just always spanked Green Bay, so I wasn't worried about it.
spank Green Bay in the playoffs, not necessarily during the
Yeah,
regular
that's
season.
true. Well, last 2019, it was twice. They beat them in the regular season, 37-20, and then in the playoffs, 37-8, or might be backwards. But they scored 37 both times.
A
And then
real
about 20-8.
I think we're blessed with a modern day Bobby Hunter here with us, knowing all these stats. So
I like stats, man. I can remember some stats. I also stuttered my
if you
way
remember
through.
license plates. Yeah, you remember license plates too, don't you?
Yeah, I sounded like the water boy. Mom said.
Sound like a Seahawks fan.
All right, and just for fun, Josh, who do you think's winning between the Rams and the Cardinals this week?
I'm a staff boy. I like a good staff infection. I think Rams win. Um,
I do too.
Cardinals, man, they're good. Murray's legit. You and I were talking about this before, and just Phil Luke on it. I mean, me and Steve haven't been high on Kyler as even top 10 quarterback, but he's up there now. I think he does seem legit. But
Yeah, he
it's
is pretty
you
good.
know one of those things you wonder how, kind of like Lincoln Riley with Oklahoma in the Big 12. You wonder when it's going to run out. It seems like that's kind of the case with Cliff Kingsbury. I do.
That's
think when
how
they
I
run it-
feel.
Yeah, I think when they run into a legit defense this weekend, they're going to have a wake-up call. And I even think a defense like the 49ers could cause them issues. You know, Kyler, not to preview the Cardinals game here in a couple weeks, but, Kyler's a gunslinger. He's looking for the big play. Rams are going to give him issues this week. And I do think the Niners could potentially give him issues here in a couple weeks just because of wanting to keep everything underneath, making him take these deep shots when they've got solutions for it. I do think that could be an issue for the Cardinals.
I just don't trust Cliff Kingsbury, man. They own last week against Jacksonville until late in the game was close. And Kyler actually had a pretty rough stat line against Jacksonville, so it's pretty interesting. So not that I'm implying they're frauds or whatever. They're better than I anticipated, honestly, but I don't think they're a tier 1 team despite their 3-0 record. Just like I don't think the Panthers or the Broncos or the Raiders are tier 1 teams, but
Yeah.
see.
I'm going to 9/11 this show real quick, Steve, and
Yeah.
hijack it briefly.
Go for it, man.
One point I was wanting to get to earlier, we missed on it, and I'll throw it on Luke first, and I want to hear your answer as well. We saw
Okay.
Trey Lance on that scoring play. Every week we have to touch on when we think we're going to see Trey Lance in an increased role and potentially starting. Luke, when do you think we see Trey Lance for more than one play? Maybe a series, maybe an extended period of time, maybe even starting. What point do you think we see him here, maybe this week and the next week to come, based on what we've seen so far?
Yeah, no, that's a good question and one that I've asked myself. I don't understand why you don't put him in, at least when you get in the red zone. I mean, to bring him in on 4th and 1 or whatever is like to put all the weight on his shoulders. But man, he plays so well, and it just opens up so many different things. I think there should be more packages for him right now for sure.
Do you think we see him against the Seahawks at all, or do you think it's going to be later on?
I want to. I want to see him, but dang if I know. Yeah. Hopefully I'll see him in the red zone. But yeah, not sure honestly. I don't think we're just gonna see him a whole lot right now.
Unfortunately, my latest prediction, which is so different than what my prediction was before the season, my latest prediction is that 49ers will drop one of either Seattle and Arizona, and it'll be because the offense can't keep up with the opposing quarterback, which will lead to the official swap in week 7.
That's exactly my prediction right now, Steve.
Wow,
I think you're gonna see Arizona, and not to jump ahead too far, I think you're gonna see Arizona and San Francisco try to get in a shootout, and Jimmy can't keep up. And that's going to be the nail in the coffin in his career. I don't think you're going to trade him. You can't cut him. But I do think, we talked about on our season preview and our show preview, you and I did, Steve, about when we thought Trey might start. and everybody said the bye week. We all you and I both crapped on it. Thought, no way, Jose, is this happening? But it does, man. The way the Colts are looking right now, they look like absolute dog dookie. That's a great scenario to set up Trey, and I believe that game is in Indianapolis, correct?
Mhm.
So you're
It's actually at
playing
home.
Oh, it's at home, so even better. So either way, I was thinking in my head it was in the dome in Indianapolis, but you're playing at home against a team that's not even got a long shot at a wild card berth. So that seems like a good scenario as any. But I agree with you. I'm not looking forward to it, but that face is ingrained in my head when Jimmy did the Big Mac Jones special.
Yeah.
Not to crap on your boy Luke, but
Sorry, Luke.
they cut over the sideline and it just looked like we talked about tears of pain, tears of rage. It looked like when you do something to piss off your dad and he says, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. And that's even worse. I'm not kidding you. That's the first thing I thought. And then you get a Hot Wheels
That's
track to the
amazing.
rear end. Then you get a Hot Wheels track to the rear end. I've had that a few times in my life. But that was the face. And there's no coming back from that. You can sweet talk your parents out of whatever if you badmouth or whatever, and they're kind of on the fence. But when you see that face, you're in for a butt whooping, and that's what Shanahan was given, dude. I mean, there's no coming back from that. It was written all over Kyle's face. It was here we go again. And down the stretch, we talked about it before the season, not to ramble on it too much, but it's like you've got these 3 big games against the Packers, Seahawks, and the Cardinals. Maybe you were hoping Jimmy could carry you through it as you slowly worked in Trey, but your first game, Jimmy folded. He folded against the Eagles too. I'm with you, Steve. I think we're going to see Trey at the bye, hopefully as a starter. Worst case, in an extended look.
What's really nice about it is the 2 games after the bye is at home against the Colts and then on the road against the Bears, who looked like a hot dumpster fire last week. I'm sure they'll be better by then, but they were horrible last week. And Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks against them. So hopefully Nick Bosa could blow it up there. But hey, we'll see how these next 2 games go, and it really might determine when we see our boy Trey Lance. So we'll keep on covering that and all things 49ers. But before then, Josh, what is your fact of the week, my man?
I appreciate you, Steve. You skipped me on the first part. I was a little butthurt. I had to bring it back, but I've been just thinking of this fact all day. And, as a fat kid, I truly was a bookworm along with a sports nut, but was a bookworm mainly. And surprisingly, one word that I've never used or have yet to use to my knowledge in a real world scenario in a real world setting. And it's really such a fun word. I'm going to share it with you. That word is erroneous. And the definition of erroneous is such. Erroneous is taken from the Latin words ero and ero. Very similar. Its definition is containing error, mistaken, incorrect, and wrong. And fortunately for us, it's not a word we use a ton. We're not going to speak Latin here or pick Latin, but we are going to see a real world example of what something erroneous really is. So, Steve, if you'd like to share that with us.
All right.
Yep.
I got the Chiefs, and I'm going my Steelers, man. I'm going Steelers. I'm going offense versus defense.
The worst prediction ever. The Steelers freaking suck. Big Ben is horrible. Good Lord.
It's been tough, man.
In the AFC Championship. Holy Heidi.
Dude, no, I thought Big Ben, in the offseason was supposed to be
donuts.
He couldn't stand up in the pocket. He couldn't stand up in the pocket. He was tripping over himself, Luke. He threw an incompletion by tripping over his own feet on Sunday.
He was supposed to start TB12.
Yeah, he was supposed to start TB12. New man. Dude, the only thing he did was shave his beard during the offseason. That's the only thing he did. What are we doing? What are we doing?
He said TB12, and it was just Krispy Kreme.
No, TB12 stands for Taco Bell 12-pack.
He wasn't lying about TB12. Taco Bell 12-pack. Heck yeah. That's amazing.
Dude, Big Ben sucks, man. Big Ben sucks. But I'm glad we've got that on file. And, truly
Yeah.
something erroneous. However you say it, pig Latin.
Not
Latin,
like the
English,
first one.
Who gives a crap? The Steelers suck, and so do Luke's prediction, but we love him anyway.
Thank you. I'll be here.
Very nice, guys. Very nice. We all enjoyed it, man. And hey, we'll have the Seattle game that we'll review next week, and then preview the Luke's Cardinals. And then after that, we have the bye, and who knows what's going to follow that? Who knows who the quarterback is going to be? All I know is that I am Beyonce always. So we'll see you guys next week, and we'll continue to cover your San Francisco 49ers as we do. I'm Steven. That's Josh. That's the guy who claims himself as Big Daddy.
Yes, sir.
Peace
Go
out,
Steelers.
guys.